evening, good evening, and welcome to another segment of the New Black Leadership Coalition here live in the studio of IntellectualRadio.com with the great producer. Always great to see Brother Earl Winfrey of IntellectualRadio.com. And tonight, always start off by saying we want to thank the Creator, whether you call him Allah, whether you call him Yahweh or Jehovah, and many other names. But we know there's only one God, that one who is the creator of the heavens and the earth. And we thank him for his protection. We thank him for his mercy and his grace, and for giving us the tenacity, the courage, the conviction, and the love to come over these precious airwaves to say things that we believe will make a difference in the lives of Black people, all people, and humanity. So we're very thankful, the New Black Leadership Coalition. And yes, we don't need to be very long on these radio shows like some people get 4 hours, but we intend to be strong. Don't have to be long, but damn it, we gonna be strong. And we're not gonna sugarcoat it. We're not gonna water it down. We're gonna call a spade a spade. And before I introduce my guests this evening, just have a brief commentary. A couple of things I just wanna, put some things out there in the universe and some people on notice, Brother David. And that is coming up, we intend to have in the very near future, the New Black Leadership will be hosting and sponsoring a round table leadership gathering. I'm not going to call it a conference, but a gathering. It's almost like an emergency, and we intend for everybody that's out there referring, whether you self-appointed or you was appointed by the FBI, or if you were appointed by CPD, and whoever appointed you. Satan might have appointed you, but you will be invited to this meeting. And we intend to make sure you are on deck, or we're going to shut you down. If you out there running your mouth and you grabbing press conferences, and I want you to call somebody like that tonight and tell them that I'm sending a love message to them, that if you want to run around playing like you the leader and somebody asks you to be our spokesperson, then you should be at this meeting, because we believe that unity is more powerful than a nuclear bomb, and we tired of loose cannons being out there on your own, and we've given you enough time to go and get your feet wet. Now you need some damn mentoring. You need some guidance. And that's what we're here for, with love. With love, because if we are unified, we can be more effective. And the New Black Leadership, our coalition, are made of many, many organizations and folks who have the freedom and have the right to go out and make a difference in the community. We don't dictate the work that they do, and they all do great, great work. But we realize that with all these great minds and folks who say that they really care about what's going on in our community with the many challenges, then if you're not there, then we know for a fact that you ain't for real. You're not trying to be successful in changing the climate and changing the landscape of some of the major challenges in our community. So when you get the call or the visit, and it'll be a friendly visit, to invite you personally out of respect and honor for you. And we're not here to judge you. But again, when you get that phone call or that notice, we expect you to be at that table. And it's going to be like the United Nations. And I'm serious. And anyway, David, before, just one other thing I got to do. And I told Hermine Hartman that I was going to do this. I hope anybody to know Hermine Hartman, call her up real quick. Hermine, if you listening, I want you to hear this loud and clear. The post that you put on Facebook. I told you I was going to mention that on the show tonight. And I want you to call in 708-223-8953. 708-223-8953. And you all that's watching via Facebook Live or over the internet, you call in. But I got to say this to Hermine, and I hope some of the people that I'm going to mention your name, those are not incarcerated. But Hermine put a post out, said, President Obama has pardoned more prisoners than anyone. I agree with Jesse Jackson Jr. that he and his wife Sandy should be pardoned. And to add to the list, Rod Blagojevich and Hillary Clinton. They are all political prisoners. What do you think? Hell no, they're not political prisoners. Do you know what a political prisoner looked like? Well, the first couple of people, and I can name a few, and I'm gonna get a little help from Minister Michael because I need, but I'm gonna go start with it. Then we come into the Pullman Porters because I want to introduce my guest, but I just got to get this out. Brother Jeff Ford would be the first one. Brother Larry Hoover would be the second one. And then the sister Asada Shakur, her, and Mumir Abu Jamal. And who else, Minister Mike? Were those four? It's so many other brothers and sisters that are in jail for weed, struggling, poor, couldn't get a lawyer. They should come first. They should go first. And I heard some people say, or I read what some people said, well, you know, Hillary she has not committed a crime yet. So, you know, Barack really shouldn't have to, you know, pardon her. But then they said, well, just in case Trump. Say, well, you don't know what really Hillary has done. Go to Libya and ask the people there, is she guilty of anything? See, you all spend so much time listening to Poot Butts on the radio and you stuck. That's why, you know, people in my life, yeah, I'm a loving human being. Yeah, I love humanity. Yes, I'm a motivational speaker. Yes, I try to inspire people. But being in my life, you know, whether you a co-worker, whether you a family member, a friend, or anybody in my life special, it's like you dealing with Malcolm. You got a relationship with Marcus Garvey. You got a relationship with Fred Hampton. You got a relationship with Minister Farrakhan. You got a relationship with Nat Turner. It's like hanging out, eating dinner with Nat Turner. But after he eat dinner, he got work to do. See, you so busy just want to be entertained by people that don't believe in the revolution. And yeah, I'm talking about the jihad inside and the revolution inside, the change that we got to make. And that's why this coalition is so important. So Hermine, if you heard me, I'm gonna come back to that because David might want to weigh in. But anyway, I'm sitting here with a very dynamic young man, young brother. He's sharp. I wish I would have known he was gonna be this sharp. I wouldn't have came so casual. But anyway, this brother, David Peterson, the director of the Pullman Porters Museum, and really the son of a great woman, man, one of the original members of the New Black Leadership, Dr. Lynn Hughes. Man, you come with a great background, resume, and recommendation. So it's so much about the Pullman Porters. I get pissed off even talking about these You talking about the epitome of diplomatic hospitality. That's what them cats represented to those lazy, trifling people on that bourgeois, high-class car, train. That's what I'm calling a bunch of trifling, lazy, undeserving of the service that they got from those dear brothers. But you could say it a little more diplomatic than me, probably. But what's going on, Brother David?
Man, first of all, thanks for having me. Much love for having me. I appreciate it. First in the spirit of our ancestors, I greet y'all with Ubuntu. I am who I am and what I am because of who we are.
Say that to them again.
Ubuntu. I am who I am and what I am because of who we are. So in that spirit, that's why I'm here on this radio show to build with the coalition, because one movement cannot be an island alone. We must all come together. And most importantly, we must come together under the right leadership and under the right mentorship, and just to jump right in with the Pullman Porters, before the correct name of the museum, well, the full name of the museum is the National A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porter Museum. I say the name just to keep his spirit alive and the spirit of our ancestors. When we say their names, we give them life.
That's right.
So Asa Philip Randolph was a giant. He was a warrior. And we thank the Most High for all of the contributions he made to us, from a leadership capacity on down. But the Porters, they were just simply working on the train before he came. They were looked at as machinery almost. But when Asa came, his name, a Hebrew name that means the healer or the physician, the doctor. When Asa came, he deposited something in them that stirred them so that it created a movement inside of them, each one of them. What he said to them on the evening of August 28, 1925 was, what this is about is making you master of your economic fate. He appealed to their manhood and said, there's no way that you can allow this type of treatment to go on while being considered a man. You can't do it. So we thank God for that type of prompting speech that he had. That put those brothers in motion, and the rest is history. They became a union officially in 1925 at the Elks Lodge in Harlem, New York, but it took them 12 years to even be recognized by the AFL, American Federation of Labor. So that was a lot of discipline, a lot of patience that took place, and a lot of organization. What I see too much recently is a lot of, like you said, a lot of movements that just sprout up out of nowhere, and there's not even a desire for mentorship.
Yeah, let me just jump in for a minute.
Yeah, please.
Under the worst, some of the worst racism and evilness, that those brothers were patient and they were treated so bad, and it was a job, but some of them made $60 a month. They worked I forgot 400 hours or 1,000 miles. I heard your mama say something once.
Yeah.
Video. They worked that long,
and
then they had a certain way that they could wake up the passengers without disturbing them. They ring the buzzer for little stupid stuff, and they wanted to be catered. They catered to these folks. They folded up the sheets and the blankets and put the pillow was in a certain position. I mean, they did everything, man. They were cooks. They were man, they did everything imaginable on that train. Everything to accommodate and make the white folks on that train comfortable. I mean, it was a high class train, but they were being used based on the amount. Now, I know some of them, they kept their dignity though, brother. They kept their dignity, and they are always to be remembered for that. And I mean, that when I just looked a little bit that I read before a Philip Randolph got involved with them, they were treated, man, in the worst way.
Absolutely. And once again, that's why we tell that story, because a revisionist history will glorify the job. the position, without highlighting the struggle that took place while it was going on. And that's why, we tell the story of the brotherhood of sleeping car porters, dining car waiters, and maids, you know, later on to be called brotherhood of sleeping car porters alone. But, there was a spirit that was with them, and in that spirit, it was dignity, integrity, and respect. So regardless of the fact that, they were doing a demeaning job, being called George, looked at as machinery, they smiled about it. You know what I mean? But it was a different type of smile. It wasn't that cooning smile. It was more of that spook who sat by the door smile. You know what I mean? So it was more like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna bite my tongue right now because I know I'm gonna listen to your conversation, talk about how you making your money. First of all, so I can learn how to do it and then take it back to my community. Second of all, I'm gonna get this money from you and then go back and build up my community.
They had a plan.
They had an absolute plan, a very detailed plan, that was implemented all around the country. And because of that, these guys were the grandfathers of the civil rights movement. There was no leader that was greatly respected or talked about that didn't come from up under that tutelage, if you will.
So they were civil rights activists for real. They were not the civil rights hustlers that we have right now.
Yeah, no. They were nationalists.
Okay, big difference.
Big difference, and I thank God for my one of my strongest mentors who just made his transition this weekend, Joseph Watkins, who actually invited me to this coalition because he enlightened me on what Black nationalism is. Another one of my mentors, Ronald Kwesi Harris, another one that talked to me about Black nationalism and made me have a direct love for my people. So both of those brothers made their transitions in the last few months.
And you sitting in a seat. Joe sat right here.
Absolutely.
A few weeks ago, 2 weeks in a row, he came back under that condition. Sat right here, Brother Joe Watkins. Yeah, sat right here. So you might just sit in this seat right here and get real radical.
Oh, without the shadow of a doubt, we channeling his energy.
Yeah, I love Joe, man.
That's for sure, because when we have good people cross our paths on this earthly plane, what I mean, we have an opportunity and an option to pull from them, what will be eternal, their words, their spirits, their thoughts, their enthusiasms, and I was blessed to be able to sit at the feet of brothers like that, brothers like Kwesi, and what disturbs me the most is they both died from the same thing. Cancer that started out as prostate cancer, then spread through the body as a direct result of chemotherapy. So I don't have the means necessarily to declare war, because I was always taught by great strategists that you don't go to war unless your money's right. And we are clearly still trying to get that bag together, but I really would like to presumptuously say we declare war on cancer, because there's too much pandering going on in that field. Every year some more money raised for this thing. What the hell does it take?
It's like the Salvation Army,
what
cancer,
I mean?
And even the breast cancer.
Listen,
and they just raising money after money.
Absolutely.
And it's almost like the University of Chicago researching sociology.
Yeah.
What could you be researching now? You know what I mean? So researching is a scheme.
Is a scheme, and
and a scam.
And it's already proven that the majority of these diseases are directly impacted by our health. I mean, and not necessarily our health, but our diet.
Yeah, our diet.
What I mean? Like it doesn't take a rocket science to find out that all of these cancerous foods that are creating acid-like environments in our body is not the cause of these diseases. You know what I mean? So for me, we're starting right at the root. Joseph actually walked me through starting a company before he made his transition. You know what I mean? And that's our Eat to Live restaurant group.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that Eat to Live.
So that's something myself, Leonard GLC Harris, Kwesi's younger brother, we started. And you know what I mean? It's a restaurant group that's basically gonna create more healthy and affordable options for food. You know what I mean? I was just sitting outside, and my only option was to run down the street and grab something from Checkers, right? Because I was just hungry. We want to create an influx of healthy restaurants where somebody can go down the street and get them something that's healthy, vegan, vegetarian, at a reasonable price point. It shouldn't cost $4 for a taco when I can go to Habib and them down the street and get a piece of puff fries and a pop for $2-3. You know what I mean? We want to create that same accessibility for healthy food options so that our people can fight this disease head on: hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, all of these different things that are directly impacted by our diet.
Yeah, what we eat,
absolutely,
what we drink or what we don't drink,
absolutely,
and just changing some of our habits. And I think when you talk about A. Philip Randolph and great men and even the women that have lived a strong life, their diets, man, was better than many of the people out here today.
Absolutely.
And they had very little, but they made sacrifices. And so when you think about Joe, you think about Quasi, and you think about just this whole piece that you say, a war on cancer. And Chris Moore, our brother Chris Moore, man, we can never forget Chris Moore. We really do need to deal with, and that's mental illness. So the mental illness challenge, as well as the cancer, and it's what we eat and what we think, and that's why I am so thankful, brother. Believe me, the best thing happened to, I know, Minister Mike, me, you, and so many millions, is that we were introduced, And now when you're in a movement, God is present when you get books like How to Eat to Live, part 1 and part 2. And then you get a book called Our Savior Has Arrived, The Fall of America. And all these books were based on supreme divine science. And so when you think about folks that say they are out here trying to impact the lives of our people, and you don't have a dietary program of how to eat. So how could you say you love them and you trying to save them when you can't even save yourself? Absolutely. I mean, we all, and I hear this, and let me say this to you folks out there. So many have said this to me, many. Well, we got to die from something.
Yeah.
How foolish. And you're right, technically, but you're wrong prematurely. And we don't have to suffer. We could try. And then the thing is, most of them, they, and I don't want to get right into the diet thing, but since you brought it up, they go to the doctor, and the doctor, you mentioned hypertension. They go to the doctor, he give them pills. He tell them, watch your sodium intake. And they start doing stuff that he tell them, but we come to them proactively and they shut us down. See, that means you got more faith in Satan than you do in God, because God speaks to us with wisdom through each other and for each other. But if there were some people needed to know about this museum, are they able to come? I mean, there are hours that folks can come and check it out and learn more about the Pullman Porters.
Absolutely. You can always just start with our website, PullmanPorterMuseum.com. That's pretty transparent. Our social
Pullman Porters.
PullmanPorterMuseum.com.
Okay, PullmanPortersMuseum.com.
Yeah, Porter, no S. PullmanPorterMuseum.com. And that our Facebook page, A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porter Museum. We're on Instagram, APR Pullman Porter Museum, on Twitter, APRPP Museum.
Okay.
All of these different things is basically how we funnel out our information, for the most part. We're very interactive with the new media waves.
Now, on that cart, there were other folks working.
Oh yeah. Maids,
dining car waiters, engineers, firemen, and etc. But the Pullman Porter, they got, they were more recognized. Why?
Well, it was because they had the direct contact with the customer, you know what I mean? And that essentially was what made the service high in demand. Underclass, low income, very low income white people who normally weren't in a position where they could afford a service like that, would get that access on this train ride. So that's where a lot of that mistreatment and that blatant racism came from, because it's like somebody who's never had nothing. So you're that bitter about being in this social class Your only vengeance to your own poverty is, well, let me make this other person feel bad. You know what I mean? Whereas the people who are prestigious businessmen, they might have been the best tippers. You know what I mean? Because I mean, they're used to having stuff. You know what I mean? So that's where a lot of that resentment comes from. And then even when you fast forward to nowadays, a lot of those people that you see just with blatant racism, come from those areas where they're poor as well. You know what I mean? Everybody's so excited about, cut off public assistance when the data shows that they use it more than we do.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, all of those types of, I mean, there's so many things that parallel from what was going on then and now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I heard that. I was reading something. I don't know if I was listening to something, reading something. That was a white man on the train, and he didn't have. I think it was some function he was going to, and he tore his pants, ripped his pants in the back. And one of the Pullman porter, he took an umbrella and got some material from an umbrella and weaved this. So he took a needle and sewed this back and to the man's pants. And the man, like a seamstress, I mean, like a tailor on the train. And he was thankful, but I'm saying that the talents, the gifts, the skills that we've been serving other people. And other folks have not appreciated the contributions, man, that our people have made. And it makes me angry because you mentioned they were smiling and they had a plan. I smile. I don't know if I would have been able to smile then.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying,
No,
I don't know if I would have had that type of patience. That's why that type of patience that they had, they are unbelievable, brother. And I, are any of them alive?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We had about 3 come by this summer. By the museum, because we have a youth jobs program that we partner with After School Matters with called Museum 44. And we were teaching the kids about media presentations and just the history of Black history and how to pretty much create their own narrative. So while we were on site, we had the opportunity to have 2 for sure Pullman porters come by.
How old were they?
Definitely both of them in their 90s.
Wow.
Yeah. So these brothers, they're in excellent shape, still moving around, still joking, laughing. You know what I mean? Just because of the lifestyle that they lived and that discipline that was instilled in them at an early age while being a porter.
I know they got to be quite disturbed when they look at the condition of Black people in the world. I mean, and what they had to undergo under blatant racism and really lack of opportunities or breakthroughs for Black people. And they were in a situation where they couldn't turn hardly to anything else. And many of them had to have a high school diploma. And some of them, I understand, were doctors who worked on that train.
Yeah, that was very that happened a lot. That happened a lot. A lot of those brothers were educated, and that's why when we have a descendants registry of over 4,000 descendant supporters. It's a lot of famous descendant supporters. Robert Townsend. Robert Townsend, he did the movie 10,000 Black Men Named George. Whoopi Goldberg.
But George was the white man name.
Yeah,
right?
that was and
George Pullman.
Yeah, but they would call them George. Just you're George's property, so we're just gonna call you George.
Ain't that
yeah?
But now that name, damn George, I'm not using that no more because they call me George. They made a mistake. I was speaking at a graduation, and they had on the plaque George Sang. So I don't know, maybe I need to go back and ask that principal, what the hell was that all about, George? And then it was a guy at the health club, Bally's, back years ago in River Oaks. And every day this guy would see me, he would hear other people saying, hey, what's going on, Gregory? What's going on? And for whatever reason, in his brain, I was George. He would say, hey, George, what's going on? And I would never correct it because I didn't, now, my name ain't no damn George, man. But they called all the brothers George, huh?
Yeah. But what was I saying about the descendants? So, oh yeah, Taraji Henson, she's a descendant.
Oh, is that right?
Her great grand uncle was John Henson, the gentleman who founded the North Pole, ironically. The black explorer who led the way, as we mostly do, in our our pilgrimages around the world. We've always been kind of leading the way, all the way back to Mansa Musa making those first trips over here. So in that descendants registry, we got 4,000 descendants from all around the country, and they all have different stories, but pretty much the majority, about 90% of them, all went to college. You know what I mean? Because their relatives made sure that they got that education because they knew how important it was. And a lot of them didn't want them to ever have to work as hard as they had to work. So they created another route for them, if you will.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there were mainly, what were they going all over the country?
Yeah, they even had trains going down into Mexico. We've had some Mexican people from South Cali reach out to us and say, hey, my grandfather was a porter, and they sent us a picture of a Mexican guy. And during that time, they had begun to call them scabs. The Mexicans, the Mexicans and the Filipinos, when the Brotherhood was boycotting and they were trying to form their union, they were trying to scare them by saying, okay, we're gonna fire all you guys and hire Mexicans and Filipinos. But the problem was they need the blacks were good because they knew English, whereas the Mexicans, they weren't fluent in English, so it was hard to create that feel.
Well, they got their whoosh now.
Absolutely.
They got their whoosh. Every restaurant I've gone into, that has come to be a reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone.
Yeah, it's all a part of the economic.
I was on a cruise.
Yeah.
Not one black waiter or the what do you call it? The wait staff.
Mm-hmm.
Not one. They were all from different countries.
Mm-hmm.
All from other parts of the world, and no black folks. When we were the masters of that. But that just goes to show you what has happened to service in terms of, but then that's God, always saying you got to serve yourself. Mm-hmm. It's time for you to take all that servitude and begin to serve your own community. And that's why, you being a member of the New Black Leadership and being in the position you are here at this museum, the word needs to get out to young people. They need to be able to come over to that museum. Do you get visits from the public schools or schools, period?
Yeah, we absolutely do.
Tours?
But embarrassingly, about 80% of our people who come by aren't black. We got people coming from all around the world, literally. I mean, like we had 30 government officials from China come, last month. We got people coming from Great Britain. We got people coming from Netherlands, all over, and they're genuinely.
Speak up, David, because you got this suit on. David's so cool and laid back,
and they're genuinely more interested, you know what I mean, in the subject matter than our own people. It's really embarrassing.
80%.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, it's embarrassing.
Well, how do schools know about the museum? How do you all get the word out that they can actually? For instance, you got a lot of elementary schools and a few high schools in the Pullman area.
Mm-hmm.
Have they visited?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a good relationship with Butler College Prep, the new school, or charter school that's inside of Corliss. Poe Classical Elementary. You got Wendell Smith.
Gwendolyn Brooks.
Yeah. So but we need more interaction with our schools. I will say that. We need more. We have a curriculum guide that's for grades 6 through 12 that basically goes into it in their unit before they come to the museum. We need more schools to bite on that. So that's basically my task now.
What's a tour? What's the time frame for the average tour when folks
tour is usually about 45 minutes to an hour.
So folks who are listening via Facebook or over the internet, they could come on like at what time and how does it work?
Well, during the winter season, from December to April, we're closed to general public. So during this time, what we have is prearranged and prepaid tours. Small groups, no less than 3 people, And then, of course, all the other ones. And then, in that respect, all they do is just get on the website, click on, book a tour, and, set it up, and then, they come.
So no less than 3.
Yeah, during this time period, just during the winter season, because we're not open to the general public. So you can call
So when are you open to the general public?
We open back up in April.
April.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But during this time, people still can come, though. People still can come by. And then we have, special events, of course, where people, can come by. Our 22nd anniversary is coming up February 25th. So, we're about to jump head first into that at the top of the year.
Now, this is a magazine that you all have?
Yeah, so this is the Pullman Messenger. So A. Philip Randolph.
Pullman Messenger.
A. Philip Randolph got his name by creating a publication called The Messenger. That's where he got the name, the most dangerous Negro in the United States, by the Attorney General. And
he was considered the most
dangerous Negro in the United States.
Really?
In the United States.
How could they call somebody dangerous? It's like, man, go ahead though, finish that.
I don't know, but it's a testament that the scare tactics that people use to kind of silence our leaders is not always true. That brother was born in 1889, didn't die until 1979.
Wow.
Of natural causes. You know what I mean? He wasn't assassinated, any of that. You know what I mean? He was strategic and he had discipline. And those are the things that kept him alive. And those are the things that gave him his influence and his impact. You know what I mean? He didn't just jump out and just say something just off of emotion. He had a methodic plan for everything. He was a giant. I met Minister Farrakhan one time at his house. And, I gave him my card and showed him where I was from. He was like, oh yeah, A. Philip Randolph, he was a giant. He had such a respect for that man. You know what I mean? And that felt good to know we represent that legacy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Paul Robeson, all of those cats. It's so many, man.
Absolutely.
And they all were treated very, very harshly by the government of America.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody should be pardoned for anything falsely, and all them brothers was falsely accused.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go down that list to pardon all of those historical figures before I deal with these modern day poop butts that haven't bust a grape out here in the real struggle. When you put your life on the line. They just stole, now I don't know if they all stole some money, talked about stealing, or not even stole any money, just did some unethical stuff, misappropriations or whatever. But at the end of the day, they're not political prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
But this man was considered one of the most dangerous.
Mm-hmm. The most dangerous Negro in the United States.
Wow.
So in this publication, of course, us calling it the Pullman Messenger. That's us paying homage to his vision. But in addition to that, literally, we are the messenger for the Monument District. So the president came here 2015, February 19th, and designated the Pullman area as the first national park in the city of Chicago. So,
okay.
So we're the first national monument district under the National Park Service, from 103rd Street to 115th Street, Cottage Grove to the Expressway. This is all federal land.
Yeah, I search you.
Yeah, they Social Security number, the whole nine. So they
were looking and say, that's him right there.
So
Dr. Hughes there.
It's funny you said that too. We usually don't say that on record. Just to avoid sentiments of nepotism. But as we move forward into this new millennium, I think it's important to promote generational wealth creation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because everyone else does that. It shows the importance of it shows the importance of passing things down.
Bro, ask the Bush.
Yeah, I hear you.
Clinton's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. We don't owe nobody nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Keep it in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that will cherish it, honor it, the legacy in a way where they got some skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to be apologetic.
Yeah, because there's a lot that we pick up, in our mitochondrial DNA that then is put out, by the thing. Yeah, absolutely. Those psychogenetics are real, so there's a lot that I picked up just from osmosis, being around since I was a kid. I've been volunteering with the museum since I was 11. And that's I mean, like fully in it, filing papers, facilitating stuff, I mean, really doing it, so when I went away to college at Florida A&M University, the best HBCU in the world.
Where'd you go to college?
Florida A&M University.
I mean, no, what did you make?
Political science, and
Okay.
I had a minor in urban development, economic development, urban planning.
Oh, great.
So once again, that comes from osmosis because Dr. Hughes started off as a real estate developer. So when I was very young, before the museum was even a thought, I was around for development of properties, rehabbing and flipping and all of that type of stuff. I saw that. I had my little hard hat as a kid, So I just said, how do I take all of this and then tie it up into something that'll help, push this thing into perpetuity, which she had the blessing to be the founder of. So in this magazine, what we doing is we talking about cultural economic development, the new phenomenon to black folk, the old phenomenon to everyone else, exactly how to capitalize off of this tourism market. You know what I mean? One of the biggest markets in the world. And this is something that creates unconventional jobs, specifically for blacks and the hospitality and tourism industry.
So you would think at the Obama's library, they would have something in there to point people to come visit the Pullmans.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would love for that to be the case. The reality is the reality is when President Obama came to the Pullman neighborhood, he only went to Gwendolyn Brooks
Really?
to sign a designated thing. We have an
He
award.
didn't come over to the museum?
No. We have an award that we give out every year for our annual fundraiser called the Gentle Warrior Awards. And we basically give this award out because that's what A. Philip Randolph was referred to. So we give it to people in the community. So ironically, Kwesi and Joe were given this award, but they were given a certain division of the world called the Community Change Agent.
Okay.
But we did because Obama designated that area as a national park. I felt that that was perfect to give him an award. So I did give him the award. Got it all made up for him. Gave it to him, but I didn't get a response or anything. So I don't know if he got it or what. In addition,
what do you mean?
Well, no, I mean there was no like, hey, thanks for the award or none of that. And I personally didn't even have a chance to really get back there to meet him. They did at the last minute, maybe the day before they told Dr. Hughes she could come. We just bogarted our way in there, but there were people, paid consultants,
white.
Without the shadow of a doubt, who strategically tried to ostracize us from that whole movement.
That's so wicked, man.
So this is a strategic
BS.
This is a strategic plan to keep the authentic representatives of this story from being able to tell that story so that someone else can come in and co-opt that whole piece. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of behind the scenes things that we've been through, since.
So y'all invited this guy.
Oh yeah.
And you never got a response.
No response, nothing like that. And our youth and young adult division that I told you about, where we hired the kids.
But then he got the audacity to put a thing around Michael Jordan's neck. See, that's all that stupid stuff, man. Let me get off.
Let me tell you this though. In 2009, I made an intentional decision to name our youth and young adult division Museum 44, named after the 44th president, because he had literally changed the lens in which people could see black people.
Right.
And that's what Museum 44 is about, creating positive.
But you couldn't get back there to meet him.
But I couldn't get back there to meet him just to say, hey, thanks for just being you.
Thanks for nothing.
Because regardless of my personal views or differences with his political agenda.
Right. I get it.
I have a BS in political science. You know what I mean? So I understand politics a little differently than the normal person.
He got a BS in political science too.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say it like this though. I understand.
A whole lot of people got a BS.
Yeah,
but I know your BS is a little different. But go ahead.
Yeah, I understand what the republic is. You know what I mean? I understand the grounds in which it was built on. I understand that the 13th Amendment still got us literally in a position where we could be slaves at any given moment. You know what I mean? So there's only so much anybody can do. Black, white, purple, dotted, or spotted in that office. You know what I mean? I think that it's presumptuous and lazy for us to depend on any political official.
That's right.
To ride in on the cavalry and be our great white hope. You know what I mean? We're setting ourselves up for failure by even
Teach.
having that intention to think that someone could do that. That's not how government works. First of all, you know what I mean. The more of the pressure locally is where the attention needs to be. You know, I mean, we got black aldermen who are doing more harm to us than any president elect. You know what I mean? These people are running these offices like hierarchies and not like, you know, a democracy where, okay, I'm here to service the people. It's not, you're going to take what I give you. You know what I mean? There's several aldermen that I could name that are about that issue, but that's neither here nor there because it's not about them. You know what I mean? They're simply placeholders. We're fighting a system. You know what I mean? That they're perpetuating a system and a mindset that they're perpetuating. You know what I mean? And that's you know, I don't believe in publicly dogging black people out. You know what I mean? That's why we got our round tables. We bring you in the room and close the door.
Yeah, we're gonna have one real soon.
And take care of our family business behind closed doors. You know what I mean? I don't want to open up the door for other people then to come in and attack our people. But I have a lot of personal.
Well, I love you for having that discipline and wisdom, because really the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan does the same thing. I mean, he says things that, you know, we would want him to really, you know, some of them, they deserve it, but we can't. And we always air our laundry. I won't even call it dirty, but indifference. So, you know, at the end of the day, we have to be wise about that.
I mean, we have a choice. You know, we have a choice. We can either we can either give our attention to things that we don't like or things we like. We can either build or destroy. You know what I mean? It ain't a lot of options.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm very intentional in trying to use my energy and my will productively, you know, and proactively. You know what I mean? I could complain all day about what somebody ain't doing, but I would rather focus on what I am doing.
Well, those two, the Facebook Live thing, maybe you got to hit the red. It's the signal. Once we start talking like we was talking, we didn't calm down. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir. If I sound a little radical, I know y'all got the ability to cut us off.
Right. Yeah, it's only so much they're gonna let you say. On. I mean, and you know,
oh Lord,
and like I say, you know,
that's why.
Just going back to the Porters, you know, they were real strategic. Like in their meetings, they were told not to even get up and show no type of emotion at all, because you know they knew that they had plants in that meeting, hired by the Pullman Company to basically go back and tell what's going on.
You say George mad.
George
got an attitude.
Listen, you know what I mean? And you know, there was a scene in 10,000 Black Men Named George that talked about that, and the guy was saying, you know, I was a slave. You don't know what it was like, you know. He was just, you know, just saying why he had been spying, being a stool pigeon. You know, but that thing is real and it still exists today.
Oh yeah, we got more sophisticated pigeons today, and they and where our frozen processes. That's all I'll say. Well, go ahead.
No, I mean
dreadlocks too.
Yeah, no, that's the extent of that. But I mean, like back to the meat of this whole thing. This whole phenomenon of cultural economic development. This is what's going to take us to the next level. You know what I mean? Because this is something that we haven't touched in. Because see, everybody knows that Black culture sells now. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that around the world.
Yeah, because they got Kwanzaa outfits right now in Marshall Field, Macy's.
Everybody knows that, right? The problem is us as Black folks need to overstand that and take full ownership of our history, heritage, and culture. Then we can be the direct beneficiaries of our history, heritage, and culture, and then use that
and not be exploited,
and use that revenue as a means, or that outlet as a means of social and economic development. Because you know it's not enough to just give somebody a job because they're a youth. Oh, we got to get these youth 100 jobs. I got jobs, a lot of youth. Yeah, but when they get on a job, they have no professionalism. They haven't been trained properly. The retention rate for the job is very, very small, because you know what I mean. They don't know how to act. They haven't been taught they haven't been taught, you know, how to conduct themselves on the work site. So you know, there's a culture of laziness.
I love what you said. You know, it's amazing because I wasn't taught, but I was, and didn't know I was being taught.
Mm-hmm.
because when you grow up in the projects and you got a job and you start working here and there, and I was really fortunate. And in terms of how some people say that you are polished, and one guy said you are well read. I said, well, I wasn't doing a lot of reading back then, but some people are destined that they could adjust, and but you're right. Our people need that type of training so that
Yeah.
the retention is is different.
Just like we need business coaching. Why is it that the numbers show that most small businesses
Hmm.
fail in the first to 5 years? That's because there's some fundamental stuff that we're missing that everybody else is getting. You know what I mean? That's why I cringe sometimes when I see people say, "You don't need to go to school. You can do this. You don't need to necessarily go to school, but you need to be educated in something. You need to have the discipline of completing a task. You know what I mean? That's what school was about for me. I dropped out of school 2 3 times. I'm through with this. I got to feeling myself. Read Miseducation of the Negro. Had to repolish myself on that black miseducation. Miseducation of the Negro and
You're gonna
destruction
be
of black
missing some
civilization.
meals too.
Listen, so I read these books and it made me arrogant in what I had figured out, right? And I forgot that I had to humble myself and remember that I was there to complete a task. You know
Very
what I mean?
good, very
Whether I
good.
liked the task or not, I was there to complete the task.
Did you come back home and go back?
Oh yeah, no, I stayed down there because I just decided, I'm be a man out here, feeling
Did you
myself.
call home and tell your mom
Oh
you
yeah,
quit?
absolutely, absolutely.
What was that conversation like?
She was a little more supportive than you would think that she was, but she knew that I would be going back, and she was comfortable that I stayed down there because she knew I
She
was
was
still in that.
wise.
I was still in that environment. But I mean, she was on me about it though, and made sure I got back in. And then when I got back home, I went to DePaul, to do my master's. While I was volunteering over at Saving Our Seas with Joe Watkins, as a reentry
We know what you get your
person,
master's in.
applied professional studies. So that's a curriculum at DePaul where you have to basically build your own curriculum. The comparison and the contrast is most curriculums are a bus ride. This is a motorcycle ride. You have to be in charge. You can't just sit back and ride. So we had to create our own area, and mine was facilitating the design and development of small business and entrepreneurial endeavors in the urban setting. But I then later changed that from small business to business because what I did find out from research is black communities don't necessarily need small businesses, which a lot of the times are just self-employed people. You know what I mean?
Can
Claiming a
I
small business. We need big businesses that's going to create living wage jobs and sustainable incomes.
can I brag a little bit, Michael? I'm so glad that Minister Michael got this dynamic brother. I was just with him on Saturday,
And Sunday.
Brother Earl, and Sunday, but he's one of the members of the new Black Leadership. And Brother you is sharp by the grace of God as they come.
I
And
appreciate
I'm
it.
learning. It's a honor and a blessing to learn from a young man like yourself.
I appreciate
And
that.
and it helps us all to grow, to be more effective. I mean, you drop something. I think a minute that many of us out there, and you got some of the old heads like me, but I believe me, I work around folks in the business setting in a structure that we have to learn to work with people, but never compromise
Hmm.
what is right.
Yeah, well, for that, like I
Yeah,
said, thank you and Ubuntu. Once again, I am who I am because of who we are.
that's right.
What I mean? I stand on the shoulders of giants.
Oh
So
yeah.
in those weary times, I had playbooks to look at. I could go back and pull these books out and say, okay, what did they do during this time period? It gave me a clear and concise roadmap on what to do. So there is no winging it. You know what I mean? Because Quasi always would say, the difference between a soldier and a warrior is a soldier has to be trained. A warrior gets on the battlefield and they know exactly what to do. You know what I mean? And I think that that's what we need to be more intentional in creating. More warrior kings. We need those type of brothers back out here that can get
Absolutely.
in any environment and
Absolutely.
handle themselves accordingly and be equipped with that knowledge of self in order to be able to go against those that might be wishing for your demise.
So what is one of the major projects right now that you're working on, that we will see in the very near future? Any particular projects, or you kind of putting a lot of your focus at the museum?
Well, yeah, everything stems from the museum.
Okay.
You know, that's my foundation. Um, and the most important thing on this corporate umbrella. Now we do have a lot of tentacles that veer out from that. You know, there's a community development corporation that I started called Randolph's Dream. Ironically, you know, just based off of that mindset of economically empowering our people. And that's where a lot of the movement is coming from. The museum itself is simply a cultural institution. We're not a community organization, a constituency organization. We're a we're a cultural institution.
I love it.
The only one in the world, might I say, only one in the world that exclusively tells this story.
Wow.
You know what I mean? 22 years old, independently owned, operated, not grant dependent or funded by city, state, or federal funds. So we take great pride in that.
I know they tried to shut it down.
Well, no, it wasn't necessarily they tried to shut it down. They tried to rip up the statue that was out there.
Right.
But
right.
You know, that was a mosaic statue that was funded by the original After School Matters when Maggie Daley was still around, and it was put together by high school students from Corliss High School. So there was some issues going on with city government. You know, unfortunately, that caused that to be an issue, of which Joseph Watkins and a number of brothers from the Voice of Ex-Offenders, Saving Our Seas, and different organizations throughout the whole city came to assist Dr. Hughes's aid for that. You know, so we're eternally grateful to any and everybody that had anything to do with that. We really are, because that showed the importance of what was going on. However, the grand architect of the universe, the Most High, had a different way of showing his power. You know what I mean? All of the construction tools and machinery that came out there to move that statue couldn't even get down in the ground. That's how deeply rooted that thing was.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And they just said we can't move it. You know,
the power of God.
So during this time, I was still away at Florida A&M University. You know, still in the dojo, preparing to come back and do what we're doing right now. You know what I mean? And since that time, we've been intentional about creating a smooth transition and succession plan for Dr. Hughes. Because like I say, she started this thing by herself in a misogynistic society, a single Black female who did something that people said that she could not do. Everywhere she went when she was trying to start it, people said, well, what are your credentials? She said, well, I don't have none. Well, now she's Dr. Lynn Hughes. You know what I mean? PhD, who did her dissertation on cultural policy. Something that our people have completely been boxed out of. And that's why we don't have the type of curriculum that we want in our schools, because there are not enough people credited to give that type of information or to set those standards of what it should be. So we thank God for Dr. Hughes, you know, having the tenacity and the strength to get her PhD at the tender age of 67 years old.
You have other brothers and sisters?
2 older sisters. Mm-hmm.
Okay, are they involved?
No, they're a different breed than me. Yeah.
Well, boy, we gotta wrap it up here, man. I am again so honored, brother. So
Thank
blessed.
You, I appreciate it.
Everything, man. And I know the folks out there who are listening and watching you, they're very proud of you. Trust me.
Thank you.
And I see some people have made some comments over Facebook. Power to the people. The new Black leadership right here.
Ubuntu. I am because of who we are.
Hotel. Amargani.
Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you all for listening. God willing, we'll see you next week. And remember, we are one. We are one. And you all look forward to the new Black Leadership Round Table emergency meeting to address the many challenges and ills. Thank Brother Earl Winfrey, one of the greatest producers on the planet, here at IntellectualRadio.com. Peace and love.